record this. There we go. So we are recording. Cool. So we've got Kelvin Holliday here today, mate. How are you, Kelvin?
Mate, I am doing good, Gary. Mate, great to be here. And I'm actually in Australia for a change, so that's really interesting.
Oh, you are. You're down. Are you in Melbourne at the
I'm in
moment?
Melbourne right at the moment, yeah. So traveling around the
Ah,
countryside, showing my wife the beautiful countryside of Australia.
mate, how good. And so that people understand why that's different for you, because you live in Thailand.
Yeah, been living in Thailand for the last 3.5 years, and been loving life there. And yeah, this is international trip number 18 in the last 3 years. So it's been been traveling around and having a good time.
Mate, that's great, mate. Yeah, well, yeah, I forgot you were in Melbourne. Well, if you're up in Queensland, mate, don't forget, give me a knock. But for those people that don't know Kelvin, so Kelvin, you have a number of things going on, mate, right? Which is why you're here to talk about productivity and time management because you have so much going on, basically, that you
Yeah.
have to manage your time or productivity and your teams and all that stuff. So you're a great person to come in and talk about that and show us some of the tools and systems and stuff that you do, because I know how much you've got going on, right? And I know how much I've got going on. And I know how overwhelming, life, business, all those things can be with your customers, your team, trying to develop software, trying to manage a JHL white label. I mean, everything changes every day, it feels like as well, because there's a new AI tool comes out. So what do we do there? How do we manage that? So like that's our conversation today is basically to talk about that, but then how we can build freedom in our businesses for us to go and travel and do things like what you're doing at the moment, right? You're away, you're traveling. I know you've got your teams working in different countries and stuff, but you're traveling right now. So how we build out that freedom machine model for automating our project flow. So for anyone that doesn't know you, do you want to give yourself a bit of an introduction, mate? And you can tell people about what it is you have done and what it is you are doing now and all the things that you've got
Yeah,
going on,
mate.
mate.
Yeah, look, it's a really interesting sort of history. Like I'm no spring chicken anymore. I've gone over the 60 mark. I'm at 61, but I've always loved tech. I've always loved technology. Been in the tech space. Started off in Microsoft area. I was one of their wasn't a developer. I was one of their advisors when they were building Microsoft project back in the late 80s, 1980s. So it's been a long time in the tech. Started off as a builder actually, carpenter, builder, and that's where I really got into the whole mindset of things have got to have a process, and so that's where it all sort of started from. Had a bit of a different pathway through careers. Went from being a carpenter, builder. I spent 12 years working in welfare in the church system, helping out people. Now run. I wouldn't say I've retired, but I've definitely cut back and doing a lot more travel. Passed the baton on to put general managers into the different companies and sold off lots of bits and pieces. So basically, there's three companies I suppose I like to think about. One is the education side of things. I love to talk. Um, so that always helps when I get on the stage and have a bit of a chat. Then there's the technology side of things, and there's also we run a VA service as well. So three very different things in the technology space, as you said, white label agency for GHL. I've built some productivity tools. Um, yeah, lots of different technologies. Just literally last week launched our new payment gateway, so that was a bit of an exciting one. But we're not here to talk about that one. We'll talk about all the productivity side of things.
Yeah, well, you're saying, mate, you're a little bit longer in the tooth now, like some of us are as well, mate. I just ticked the 50 box the other week as well. But you're not a man who's retiring, mate. I know you dull things down a little bit, but you're not a man who's going to retire. I can't even
Uh,
imagine what you'd do. Like,
I, I
so
call it I call it retreading.
yeah.
So instead of just putting a new tire on, I just
Yeah.
retread the old tire. So
Absolutely, mate. And then, like, I mean, over the years, with years comes experience and wisdom, right? And
yeah,
I think the older you get, the less you realize you actually do know to some
yeah.
degree, which is really good because it kind of opens your mind up to just going, all right, well, is there a better way of doing things and stuff like that as well? But what do you reckon you've learned over the years that's actually helped you with? I mean, well, sorry, you did actually mention that earlier, like the building and the processes
Mm,
in there, because that's a very process driven
mm.
industry or whatever as is, building a house, you've got to put a slab in and then a frame and then a roof and then the walls and then air and then watertight it and all those kind
Yeah.
of things. So what's the lessons over the years, I guess, that you've learnt to help get you to where you are now as well and get these things in place?
I think with uh, probably one of the key ones is the empowerment of a team. So for me, it's once you, like, you might know how to do some stuff, but none of us, particularly in this day of AI, know how to do everything. And
Mm,
if you can actually, I think the biggest tip is don't be a blockhead. Don't think you know everything, and then surround yourself with the right people. That was probably the key for me to growth. And then being able to get the information out of your head into some sort of, documentation, some way to train somebody else, and then empower them to do it. That would probably be my biggest thing. It took a long time to go through that. I went through some very, what would you call it? Ego-driven sort of spaces where you start to think that you're the only one that can do things, and so when you delegate a task, you have a tendency to bring it back and micromanage. And I think it's really that, as you said, probably a bit of age, a bit of frustration, and eventually the breakthrough to know, get it documented, get the system built, and put processes in place to empower other people to then pick up what you've built and improve it. And don't be afraid to, for other people to tell you that they actually have got a better idea than you. That's probably some of the biggest lessons of an old bloke.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, giving things that you're definitely the things that you're not as good at and recognizing that and letting other people take that and run with it is really good. But yeah, like I say, that is hard and I struggle with that still sometimes as well. There's
Mm.
certain areas that I need to step out of and there's parts of it where I go, oh God, how do I get all this information out of my brain? Because you have to do
Mhm.
that. But in some ways it's that well, it's very hard to do to let go of sometimes, but in
Yes.
other ways, it's easier than ever now with the tools that we've got.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'll just say like what I do for a bunch of stuff is I'll just create a loom, and I'll
Yep.
just do a loom of something, and then let take the transcript of the loom and turn that to an SOP with the loom and go, there you go. Like we do that a lot for obviously like our support and knowledge base articles. That's how all that's done, which makes life very easy. Or sometimes I'll just ramble to AI about something and then let it turn my rambling thoughts into
Yeah.
detailed notes for someone as well. But you've got some pretty cool stuff that you've done. So tell us about like what's your process for simplifying task management for yourself and your team?
Yeah, mate, you've just nailed it. All right. So the biggest thing is you got to start somewhere. And typically what will happen is the process that I go through is every time I go to do something is and I'm not in my office at the moment and I'm traveling around, but in our office, we've got a little sign that says, "Are you going to do this again? Therefore make a system." So it's a ethos of the company that goes, "Are you going to do this twice, three times, four times?" And as soon as you say yes to that question, build a system the first time you do the task, and then you can delegate then. And so that's probably one of the key trigger points that I would say. Most people, they do a thing and they do it and they do it and they do it and they go, "Geez, I'm sick of doing this. I don't like to do this," before they get to the stage where they make a system.
Mm,
But if you can do it from day one, where you're not necessarily the expert at it now, you can just do what you know and then get other people to figure out the rest of it. So creating the loom, so and it can just be, as you said, a ramble. So you get on there. I quite often will even use Zoom, because now with a couple of different AI tools and everything in there, and everything as well is pretty good. But a loom just makes it so much easier. Get in there, ramble away. Excuse me. One of the biggest things I think when you're making those Loom videos is make sure you, like, when you go to click a button, do it as if you're teaching somebody else. So you might be learning yourself and say, "I'm going here because I think this might be," because if you're doing it the first time. But if
mm,
you actually speak out what you're going through in your mind, that will then help whoever's going to watch it, and then they can make the SOP. If you train up your team to make them, they know why you're navigating around in the way you're navigating around. So if it's a new thing, you go, "Hey, I'm going to go here because I think this might be." That's a good first timer. But if you've done it a couple of times before, you go, I'm going here because this is where the XYZ features are, or whatever it might be. And I'm doing this because of this reason. I'm doing this because of this reason. And you just put through as much detail. So it might take you twice as long to do the task that time when you record it. But from then on, you've got it recorded and you'd never have to do that task again because somebody
Yeah,
else can do it.
definitely guilty sometimes of that thing that you're saying there. And even though I know it as well, and I think it's a lesson for all of us, right? Because we all know these things, right? And somewhere inside us, we kind of go, oh, no, I need to do that. About mapping it out if you think you're going to have to do it again. Because I've
Yeah.
definitely done that where I've gone, I know I need to do this again, and I'm doing it again and again. I get bored of this. Like, I think I don't know, by nature, sometimes we can just be our own worst enemies. Like, we know that we need to do stuff, and sometimes
Yeah.
we just don't do it. So definitely hand up, guilty of that one. So yeah, I think that's a good advice. Maybe have that sticky note on your desk. I think I might
Yeah.
add that to mine.
If you're gonna do it again, build a system. Full stop. And you just have that in your face. And over a period of time, you start to get used to doing that. Um, Probably the other one I would say this, and this is something that people are still doing with all the tools that are around there. People are going, oh, geez, I've got to remember to do, if there a repeat task and stuff like that. That's generally the problem that most people have. They have a repeating task that they've got to do over and over and over again. And they might build a system for it, but then they go, oh, geez, I haven't actually put that anywhere for as a reminder. Or they use, an email. They'll email themselves, oh, and they'll literally say, make sure I get this done tomorrow. And they'll send themselves an email. And so now it's in their inbox, and they use their inbox as their task management system. You know, the amount of teams and leaders that I've seen who are actually teaching their team to do that is phenomenal because it's got snooze and bits and pieces. They're using their inbox as a task management system. And so, I mean, you go, that's not a system.
I'm just going to exit myself from here right now because I do that to myself all the time.
Oh, do we?
I do that. I'm actually not so bad as in like I do that myself, and I use it as a first step in my
Yes.
reminders. So I
Yep.
do that, but I
Yep.
do then take it out and put it into a task somewhere as well.
Yeah.
Or what I do, like I have a notepad. Like I'll write down on my notepad in the morning. I'll go through and I'll write down those things that I've got to do and take them out of email. But I'll be honest, I'll put my hand up to that is that I will tend to do that sometimes because I'll just come across things and I'll forward myself a link or I'll forward myself a
Yeah.
reminder or something. So
Yeah.
I will use that as a what would you call it? A first base thing for something that I need to remind myself to do tomorrow or whatever that's important. So it's in my inbox. So guilty as charged on that one. Sometimes I have a couple of ways of doing it as well because I can forward it into our task management system, which will also do sometimes as well if it's not so
Yes.
important. But I'll use that for things where it's like, okay, I must remember to do this tomorrow, and then I'll see it in my email because
Yes.
that's the thing that I'll kind of work on first, which is probably, in retrospect, and again, I think about this something going, oh, probably better if I just put everything into my task management and then
Yep.
went through that there. Um, but yeah, definitely guilty of that one, mate. So what else am
It's
I
a
doing wrong,
habit.
Cal?
It's all right. I'm not your mum. I'm not going to come and smack you on the wrist or anything like that.
No,
But
but I
the
think it's really
reality
good.
is these are the habits that business owners and they then pass that habit onto their team, and it slows things down. So what you just said there was okay. Like you've put it, you're out and about and you see a Facebook link at you is I want to do something. So you send that Facebook link off to your email. That's not so bad, but having that next step, and you've already got that, which is cool because you then move it into a task management system.
Mm,
That's the key. It's when people use their inbox and then they go, oh, I'll come back to that later, and then their inbox gets massive because they've got all these things that they've got, because it's not designed as a task management system. It's a communication tool, you know.
yeah.
But Google's a great one. You can send off your emails into a task management in Google. That's a good first step for most people that haven't got a project management software. But having somewhere to do that, and then that building the SOPs, using the looms, that's you got to start somewhere. And I think that the first place to start is to learn what are the things that I want to do, what are the things I need to do, and what are the things I don't want to do and don't need to do, and I can pass off to somebody else. And getting that mindset of I don't have to do it all is definitely a big part for a business owner to do it, and also to pass that same culture onto the team as you build a team. Like I know you know Gary, you've built a good sized team here. You got a couple of them here today, which is fantastic, and like I'm sure that you'll have a big enough team where you can have team leaders that are looking after other people that you don't necessarily need to be guiding all the time. So getting them, passing those information down and getting them to build systems so that they can continue on.
Yeah, we definitely do in terms of our tech stack because that's way beyond my technical knowledge. Very
Mm.
fortunate with have a great CTO in place. He manages the whole team there in our office, which is amazing. But I'm going to pull back for 1 second to that email thing. So, like how I do it, and like I said, it's kind of my first line of putting a task in for me, which I know I've got to do tomorrow. I need to. It's like a reminder. I need to put this somewhere, right? So from my experience and the way I do it is like I'll put it in there and then I'll move it somewhere else, right? Whether I write it down the next day, okay, I've got to do that, and I'll get it out of the way. Because I think you made a really good point there about people do that in their email, and then their email builds up. There's all these things in there, like I'm sure you've seen it. I've seen it. You got people with like inboxes that like my wife's is like this. It makes me twitch. There's like 3,000 unread emails or something, and I'm like, nothing ever gets deleted. It's just like, how can you live with that? So, like I said, my process is I'll push it to email if it's an important thing and I see it. I'm out and about, put it there. But at the end of every day, my goal is to clear my inbox. Like I should not have those things in my inbox at the end of the day. Like it's got to go out of there because I know, again, I'm sure you've seen it with people. They build themselves into overwhelm, whatever it might be, wherever you're putting your stuff, like even in your task management thing, whether you're in email, you've put them into task management. If you have everything sitting in front of you, like it's all there that I've got to do, and you haven't prioritized it or moved it somewhere or said, hey, this is important, or this is for next week, or these are the three things I've got to do today, whatever that might be. Do you think that that's where a lot of people get stuck to start with because you just become so overwhelmed?
200%, mate. It's if as soon as a person gets overwhelmed, if you psychologically, I'm not going to go into all the different pieces that I probably could go there, but psychologically, the human mind can only handle 3 to 7 things in their mind at the same time.
Mm,
Now, I'm not saying you're doing it. I'm not saying we're talking about multitasking here, but once we see that up to about 7 sort of items, after you see more than 7, your brain switches off. It's an automatic thing. You go, oh, bugger. All right. You get into that space of overwhelm. And as soon as you get your head into that space, your productivity diminishes significantly. And so having, what you're talking about by getting your list written down, um, 7 to 10, absolute maximum of 10 things on a to-do list for a day. All right. We call them a daily sprint in our business. All right.
mm.
So your daily sprints every day, we have a 5 minute stand-up meeting and we go, what are the 5 to 10 things maximum that we're going to try and tick off today for each person? And what you've done is you've written down now. Writing it on a piece of paper is still the most effective way to get productive and to encourage productivity in the team. It's something we've lost with the whole technology range. But when you write that down, physically and chemically in our psychology, you take it off your task management, you're writing it down. These are the priorities I've got to get to today. And
Mm.
then as you get to them, you literally are crossing them off. Now, yeah, you're putting the notes into the task management. You're not putting any notes on a piece of paper. You're recording it all in your task management and in whatever systems you're using. But by just having that list there and spending 5 minutes, it takes 5 minutes to write down your 5 to 10 key things, your sprints, all right, for that day. And by crossing them out, what you do is you turn the overwhelm of having too many tasks into something that actually feels and it actually starts to get the dopamine and make you happy because you're crossing things off the list. And by increasing the dopamine, you increase your productivity. Really
Yeah.
simple, but we've lost the art of writing things down.
And the tip that someone gave to me, a good friend of mine, he grew a very large, um, not real estate, a development business, like building properties or renovating units and stuff. And he put this in place with his team, which I really like, is he said he would have his team do exactly that, write it down on a list, and then you could walk around and go, okay, what have you done on there today? And he also, instead of crossing things off, so like I'll write it all down, obviously, like with a pen, but
Yeah.
instead of crossing them off, he's like, use a highlighter, like highlight the things you've done.
Yes.
Because psychologically, again, then, like this is a sheet of mine, like where I've written down things, and I don't know if you can see very well because some of them
Yeah.
are very
Got it. Yeah.
faint, but like I highlight the things that I've done, and then it's like, okay, well, I know that that's done because then when I look at my list, I can mentally ignore the highlighted things and I can spot the things that are not highlighted, so I can just pop back to them. Also, come the end of the day, right? Because I use this every day, like for me, it's like written down because things pop into my brain, or there's things that come up as well that I need to do, but I don't need to do them right now, but I can't forget about them. So I'll
Yeah.
just write them down on the list. It's not necessarily like, okay, do this today. It's like I'll just write it down on the list. Go, okay, well, I need to remember that. And when I get to the end of the day, I can see, okay, what's highlighted did I do? What's not highlighted? I either need to move that over to tomorrow or move it into my task management system or send myself an email. Obviously not.
Yep.
But that's kind of my process for it as well. And I also do all that. I don't know if you can see, like this is my sheet here. Like
Mm.
these are my main three things that I kind of have to look at every day. And then I have like all my meetings down on one side, so I know what I've
Yep.
got coming up for the day, and then all the things that I'm gonna do just written down there.
Yep.
And that's my day on a piece of paper. And I start every day with my bit of paper written like that. So I can go, all right, what's going on? And sometimes, like, of course, like overachieve or overestimate what I'm going to be able to get done in the day with meetings and stuff as well. Like that's probably one of my biggest faux pas is I'll write down, even if it's three to six things that I want to get done in the day, but I've got like a calendar full. It's
Yep.
almost impossible to achieve them. So they just have to end up getting pushed over to the next day. But that's this pen and paper system for me is my main productivity thing. If I don't do that in the morning, I'm lost for the day,
Yep.
personally.
And it works. The other thing that I would say is this. When you're putting those lists together and you're putting your day together, over time, you'll get into a bit of a habit of categorizing what the day theme is. Okay. And what I mean by that is if you can create themes in particular days of the week, even, GHL is great for this because we can set up so many different types of calendar. You can set up a calendar for networking. You can set a calendar for marketing. You can set a calendar, thing for sales, or a calendar for team stuff. And then you put those into categories. So for me, theming your day will increase your productivity by about 50%.
Hmm.
50%. Why? It's because when our brain switches from, okay, I'm going from marketing to sales. Now, a lot of us think that's similar, but it's a completely different set of mindset. When you talk about marketing, you're talking about being persuasive. When you're talking sales, you talk about being relational.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's a different switch in the brain. And so by setting your day up as a theme and doing things, so you've got this podcast here we are on a Wednesday. When I'm doing my days, I set up literally Monday. Every Monday is all about my team. I take no appointments on a Monday outside of things that help my team, systems, anything we need to deal with. That's Monday. Tuesday for me is then my marketing day. So I then start to market and I go through any things. Wednesday typically for me is my networking day, and it just happens that this is to me is like a networking type of event. It's about building relationships, it's about getting your awareness out there, etc. Thursday is my sales day, all right, and then Friday is my VIP day. All the very important people, and I'm that very important person, so I have most Fridays off. Okay,
I've seen your VIP days from the pool, mate. Look very nice.
yeah. So by theming your day, what that does, it gets your brain in a situation where you're hypersensitive to everything around that particular theme.
Hmm.
And so when you set up your task management, and you're doing things. And you set that up with your team as well. Now, it's really hard if a person, for instance, there might be a web developer, all right? But if you can set up their themes, there's a build, there's a build day, there's a test day, you can set up themes for every type of team member. And what happens is they become more productive. They can get more done. And if you think that way and you use the right tools, you can start setting up Gantt charts, and different ways to be able to do it. So you can see a theme across your whole team. That's when you're taking productivity to another level.
Yes, that's really interesting. There's something you mentioned there about setting up different calendars in GHL, which I hadn't actually thought of that before. So do you have a sales calendar? Like, have you got different calendars for those different themes that you set
Yeah.
up? So if
Yep.
someone wants a sales call with you, you'll send them Kel's sales calendar. If it's
Yep.
a marketing call, you send them
Yep.
Kel's marketing calendar. That's a really good idea. I'd never thought of that.
Really simple because what you
Yeah.
can then do, you can put it color coded. It comes in color coded into your calendar. You can really do a lot with that. And so
Mm,
that when you look at your day, if you see, I color code. So I have what I call my networking calendar. All right.
mm,
Now out there, most people won't know what the difference is. Everybody sees productivityhub.tech slash let's chat. All right. So that's typically the calendar that most people think they see.
mm,
But literally, it might be let's dot chat, let's dash chat, let's dash chat with a dot. They're all slightly different, but in the
mm.
background, I've just named them something completely different, and they've got a different color. And so, therefore, your day, when you're doing this well, is when your day is okay. This is all green, and this is all a blue, and this is all a red, and you keep on moving things around until you make that work. It's
Yeah,
when
really.
Yeah, and some days, sometimes, particularly if I've had a period of time off, all right, so I'm traveling a lot at the moment. So for the next 3 weeks, I'm traveling a lot. So I have basically what I would call my mixed calendar, and that's where I'll just like when I come back, I try to keep to the times, but then I send them a different calendar, which allows them to book on any day because I just know that people are trying to get in contact with you, and you can't ask them to wait another week.
Yeah.
But then you limit that calendar to one or two maximum in a day so that you're not completely stuffing up your cycle. So a theme day, as I said, team days on Monday. Now I might do another meeting on a Monday, but there'll only ever be one of them
Mm,
because to get your mind out of what you're doing and into a different sphere or different process takes time. And it literally it takes around about between 15 and 20 minutes for our mind to move from one type of task to a different type of task. That means for 20 minutes at a time, every time you go through that change, your productivity diminishes by 50% for that 20 minutes. You've
yeah.
just lost 10 minutes every single time you swap tasks.
So using the right, I really like that calendar tip, Cal. That's a really good one. I'm going to think about putting that in place because I just have one calendar to be honest, and I put it to people, and then yeah, I'm hopping from different types of meetings all the time. So that's a really good point. And I guess what we're talking about here, or what you've really kind of spelled out there, if I can distill it a bit, is that using tech or tools to funnel your energy in
Correct.
time.
Yep. It's all about your focus. What
Yeah.
you focus on, is what you succeed at. And if and in business, if you don't give it the time, it doesn't happen. So when I talk about my team days, all right, I talk my team days as how do I empower my team? How do I build SOPs? Like all the different pieces that need to be done all get done on a Monday. And so as we find little challenges throughout the week, we don't then stop what we're doing and start fixing problems. We just move it to the following Monday and then
Mm,
we fix it all at once because it gets done faster overall.
yep. Yeah, very good, man. Like that a lot. So a lot of that, and we'll talk about this here, like that's a big part of leadership mindset, right? So leadership mindset in like delegating it, also not sweating the small things, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. So often we get so obsessed with everybody else's timeline that we forget that our timeline is the most important one.
mm. And
And
that's email is a killer for that, right? Because
Absolutely.
email is I forget where I heard someone say, this is not my phrase, but basically someone said your inbox is someone else's task list that they've delegated to you.
Absolutely. That's exactly my theory on email. All
Yeah,
right. And so what I do, I have a whole training and everything on inbox. I call it inbox domination. All right. How to transform your life by getting to zero emails every single day. Like if I turn my email on now, I would have a maximum of 10 emails in my inbox. Every morning, all right. This is the system that we've got, and we've got this across our whole team. Every morning, open up your emails. Right? You deal with the ones you can deal with within 2 minutes. Once they're dealt with, they're okay. Anything you don't need to deal with, you can forward it on to somebody else. You hit the forward button. Anything you can filter, you do that. So I spend 10 minutes of the morning, 10 minutes about middle of the day, and 10 minutes at the end of the day. So a total of 30 minutes in total in my inbox maximum. Three
that's
lots of
good.
10 minutes. And I get through, I would probably receive somewhere between 200 and 300 emails a day. And I deal with a whole lot of them within 30 minutes maximum in a day.
Yeah, emails definitely can be a killer because they can
Huge,
suck
huge. Yeah.
suck your life for sure.
So,
Yeah, I probably get a very similar volume, mate. I don't think I'm doing it in 30 minutes a day. I do try and get through it pretty quickly, but probably not 30 minutes a day.
again, it's that delegation process. Yeah, I'll go, this is not something I need to do, forward. This is not something I do. And then you train your team. So if it's something that, and you'll see this all the time, and you've got to be available. Like you don't want to cut yourself off from your clients and
Mm,
those people who you want to have a relationship with them, but you don't need to do the things you don't need to do. All right. And that's where the balance is. That's where the leadership comes in, and also the self-leadership of protecting yourself because you can't do it all. And so by literally training your team, send the email to them and you train your team to reply to the email saying, hey, Kel's asked me to reply for you. All right. You don't use words like Kel's too busy for you. All right. You say, Kel's asked me to reply to you. I'm the best one to do it. Or I have templates in my emails where I actually put a reply and say, hey, look, I'm just going to refer you on to XYZ. They're better equipped to help you than I am.
mm.
So having those templates set up in your email, right? And it's just literally go, oh, yep, forward that on. And I forward that on with that message, done. And I've forgotten about it. It's gone. Takes,
Uh, They always resurface if you need to. That's what I
yeah,
think as well.
well,
The
all of
important things always bubble back up, right?
they'll bubble back up and you train your team you delegate it to whoever you're going to delegate it to. And if there is something that needs to be really has your attention, they will come back to you. And they're the emails that I look at. Is the ones on my team are saying, hey, you really need to talk to this person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting that the differences in scale where you go through, because I'm sure we've got people that will be watching these recordings later on are at different levels as well. Like when you're very much in the business, so you're either like the solopreneur, or maybe you're the solopreneur with like, you might have a VA or a couple of team members that are doing the build for you, but you're covering all the clients and
Yeah.
all the communication and everything's like really important. And slowly as those things change and time over time, and it's not the things become less important. It's that you just realize the value in all the different things,
Yeah.
I think.
You start to value your own time.
Mm,
That's what it comes down to. You realize that for you to do the best thing by your client is for you to manage your own time, all right, and you manage yourself so that you can put in quality time to people.
yeah. And I would add to that as well. So it's quality time for your clients and yourself, and then
Yeah,
for your family and friends
correct.
around. Because like that's
Absolutely.
what this is all about. Like it's all about freedom and stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
you've got to come away from the business right now. You're traveling, you're attending. It was your daughter got married, wasn't it?
Yeah, so
You got,
I had that. My daughter got married, it was a week and a half ago, no, nearly two
yeah.
weeks ago. Actually, yeah, 2 weeks ago, tomorrow. She got married, and then I had a christening for my newest grandson. And then that was in Newcastle, and I took off up to Brisbane, and I'd done an event up in Brisbane, and now I'm down in Melbourne, and I had a couple of big things down here, and but in between, like it's fun. Like I travel around and enjoy family and do what I need to do in between times.
Yeah, because all this stuff that we're talking about here, like to make the business run, right? That's that's all for a purpose,
Yeah,
right? So that we can have time off. Like, there's a couple of my team on here at the moment, and I always say to them, it's like, yep, cool, we're working. These are important things to do, but if anything ever happens in personal lives, it's like, yep, go deal with that. We'll
yeah,
take care of everything else, right? Because that is the important stuff, right? Our lives outside of work
mm,
are more important because that's our lives, right? So we have
yeah,
to
yeah.
manage our time, our energy, everything with our clients, our expectations, so that we can actually live our lives as well, right? I think that's really
Exactly right.
important.
Yeah, and I'm not into this, man. When people call work-life balance, it's just life. There is it's just balancing life, full
It
stop.
is. It
Yeah.
is. Like I balance mine out. Mine's not ideal in a way because of time zones and like
Mm,
working with different time zones and having a young child. So my son's only 8.
mm,
So I tend to generally work about 9 till 2:30,
yeah,
and then I go and pick him up from school, and then I have till I pick him up from school till he goes to bed with my son. That's it.
yeah,
So it's just like that's my time with him. But then I'll go back to work typically from 8 till it could be 11, could be 12, right? Because I got that time zone of like clients in the US, and we're growing, we're scaling. There's still a lot going on. For me, yeah, there's you're never always happy, right? I think when you're trying to build something, you're like, oh, I just want to make this better. So I will invest the time because I want to and I do enjoy it. So for me, 5 hours, like 9 till 2:30, 5.5 hours a day, you know, that's not enough time for me to do the things I want to get done, right? So I do want to spend that time later, but then that isn't ideal because then I'm very tired. It's like
yeah,
I end up going to, by the time I finish work, I wind down. I always stretch every night before I go to bed, have a little wind down time and stuff. So
yeah.
I can't just turn my laptop off at midnight and go to sleep. So I've got to wind down,
Yes,
and then that's an hour. So I might not go to bed till 1 a.m., but then I'm back up at 6:30 the next day anyway, because I've got a dog to walk, son to get breakfast for, all those things. So that's definitely not ideal in terms of sleep for me, but I choose that path as well.
mm,
And I also think it's a better path for me than going to work 9 to 5, basically, and doing that and then missing time with my son. We've talked about this before, as like, well, our son could go to after school care or stuff like that. But he doesn't want to do that, and I don't want him to do that. So I take that time to spend the time with him,
mm.
and then I'll yeah, burn the candle a little bit at the other end at the night. But that's okay.
But that's exactly what we're saying here, mate. Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's where you put your priority, all
Mm,
right? And when we'll talk about those calendars before, like you're doing, for want of a better word, it's like a split shift. You're doing
yeah,
a couple of hours here, time with the family, time at the end. Just by literally putting that calendar system in place, you'll find that your hours will diminish.
yeah. Well, my calendar is blocked out. Like the time from going to pick my son up till
Yep.
8 o'clock at night, my
Beautiful.
calendar's
Yep.
blocked out, and it's color coded as well. It's like fin time basically every day
Fantastic.
across the week. So yeah, I guess that's prioritization of what it for me. It's like I'll give up some sleep so that I get to spend all that time with my son every day,
Yep.
which
Yeah,
is awesome.
beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, I get breakfast with him in the morning. My wife generally drops him to school. I dropped him off this morning, but we kind of split that around a little bit. But yeah, you got generally there's a trade-off with anything, right? There is a bit of a trade-off somewhere. Someone said to me, it's like, well, what are you prepared to give up for what you want?
Correct.
So
Absolutely, mate. And yeah, keep focus and have fun. And be
yeah.
yeah.
So let's talk about some tool sets and stuff as well, mate. I know that you've built a pretty cool tool set for your team.
Yep.
Typically people watching this might be using some of the standard things like, ClickUp and Asana and Trello, all those things. I know that you've built some cool tools for you to use with your team
Yep.
that manage some of this process. So do you want to show us some of that stuff? I think
Yeah,
it'd be really interested to have a
absolutely.
little look
Yeah,
and we can.
absolutely. I think I'll jump on into it now. Hang on. So when you get into the size of a team where you really um one second, missed my share button. When you're getting a team, three, five sort of team members, it starts to become very important to have the right tools. All right. And what I found, like I was a big Asana user, loved
Mm.
Asana, been using Asana, and as I said at the start of the show, I was in the project management software, Microsoft Project and stuff like that as well. But what I found was is that project management by itself is one thing that a team requires. And then, as you know yourself, you start to get clients, particularly in this GHL space, you get clients and they're starting to send in tickets. So that's another application. And then we've already talked about SOPs. So there's another application, or people are using, a Dropbox or a Google Drive or something or other, hold of their SOPs. And I just identified that, hang on a second, there's now three different tools, plus you got GHL. So there's four tools that we're all using all the time. And you got to zap them together, or you got to do something to them, or you got to cut and paste. And the amount of time that that wastes is phenomenal. And so I set about to solve that challenge of actually having four different applications and bring it into basically one login and be able to make it together. So, Productivity Suite, for those people who know GHL, you'll see the GHL dashboard here. So it's just a standard GHL. We've got a number of different apps of our own, including good old
Yeah,
myCRMSIM
that's a
there.
nice one there on the side
That's
there,
a
mate. I
nice
like
one
that.
there. So I just thought I'd give that the plug. It's a big part of what we do. But Productivity Suite is what I would call the dashboard of productivity. It really is everything's made for you. So in the dashboard itself, just to give you a very quick rundown of what this tool is all about, if you don't have a culture in the business, if you don't actually tell your team what you're doing, how you're doing it, what's happening, et cetera, you'll end up in all sorts of strife. So this has the goals, the missions, the vision, and the values and all that type of stuff already built in it, an announcement board, an action plan. So, you can actually see what I've got to do. So any of my tasks that I've got to do, I've got a nice blank sheet here at the moment. I've got 27 overdue tasks, but I've got two in my sprint. Okay. So this is my sprint for this week. So I've only got two to go. I'm traveling, so I put less load on myself. And so I've got to just do these couple of little things in my task list. So at a dashboard level, I can look along here. I'm going to have a look at all my tasks that I've got lots of different things I'm going to do, nothing to worry about, and all the projects that I'm actually currently involved in. And so as a dashboard, I can really go through this and nut it out. And particularly, and this is a part that is not in most productivity type activities or project managements, is this sprint, the ability to add, to pick and choose different tasks out of all the different projects and put it into the sprint for this week. So a little bit of a unique one. All right. So as far as projects is concerned, um, it's a very simple project management system. If you start to think about, and I'm actually not in real good, not in a real good area. Let me just go to one. Here it is, the demo. So in the project management, again, when you talk about project management, this is not micromanaging your team, but if you've got a quote that you've done for somebody, you want to manage the time. So the other thing we realized in a lot of other project management software was there was no way to record times and tasks and everything. So this has got a total time tracking. So every time you start a particular project, you can set a total hours for the whole project. And then as you add all the different tasks in, it's got a nice little miniature dashboard of all the different activities. And then you have your tasks for um, that particular project. And it is a Kanban, just like most of them. And you can actually go into the task itself. And now inside of here, every time you start doing a task, all right, you start the timer, start doing it. As you finish the task, the timer finishes and it asks for what have you done during that period of time on that particular task? So it might be a link you've done, you might have done partial of the website or whatever it might be. And then it clocks all your history of your time. So now you've got all the comments. If you tag people across the team. They'll get a notification of it automatically. You see, I've got 10 notifications up here. Of what's happening at the moment. You see here I am. I've got a notification that Kel's jumped into this particular task at this particular time. You can trigger those to be as an email as well. So if somebody's doing something and you're not in here and you're out and about, you'll get an email to say that that task and that comment's been updated as well.
Hmm.
So it's a really simplified system that's extremely powerful. It's got all the tools in it, the ability to have tasks and subtasks and sub-subtasks, to be able to move them around. And so we love it. It really it helps us. And obviously you got the sprints side of things that you can actually pick out the different tasks and you can move them across into the sprint and see how those are going as well. The other side of things with this, so that's the project management. Quite often, if you've got, like you guys, you've got a lot of clients that are coming in and saying, hey, I need a hand with this, I need a hand with that. And so the ticketing system is got the same sort of principles to it. So it's all the tickets. You can create a ticket in here manually and or it can be created through GHL. So you create a form in GHL and literally put it onto your website. You can set up an AI bot to go to your knowledge bank to answer as many questions as you want. And as soon as they get to the stage where saying, hey, I need a person now, they can then raise a ticket and it goes straight into here and all the notifications go out to the different team members. So what that means is instead of having all your workflows built inside of your ticketing system and or your project management, you can build the workflow the way in which you want it, which is a lot more powerful than any other workflow through GHL. And then you just add the pieces in that you need to actually trigger inside of the productivity suite. So it really makes it, you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting an absolute full-blown automated, forms, fully integrated within GHL. And what information you need to put into here goes into here just through that form. And then you've got the last piece of this is your SOP. So all your SOP templates. So again, a person comes in, they raise a ticket, they want to get a website built. Okay. So you go, okay, you want to build a website. So then you go to you click down to the SOPs and you say, here's my SOP for building a website. Here's the form and here's the template for a project to build a website. With 3 or 4 clicks of a button, you can now completely start a new project from a ticket, start a project, run through the SOP, start a new project up, and then your client and whoever the team members are, you can add those to it, and your client and you can see that project as they progress through the system. So it's a fairly complete package.
Man, that's very cool. That's very nice for being able to launch things out, like you say, because yeah, if you've got that, you've got an SOP and start a ticket, and that's going to put all your tasks and everything you need to do to
Yeah,
build a website as that example,
yeah,
then that's really powerful to get things started and a lot quicker than creating a new project or a new task list every time from scratch. That's really good. And
that is
I really liked, and I've let you run through that, mate, but I didn't want to stop you in your flow. But I really like right at the start there, your goal and the vision at the beginning there. I think that's really good.
yeah.
That's a really important thing because you've got to understand those things as well. Like we have a
It,
couple for us, which is I talk to the team about this all the time. It's like AI first. So whatever you're doing, try and find something for AI that will help you to do it better, quicker, faster, first of all. Whatever it is, how can we automate these things to take our time out of it?
Correct.
Which kind of goes back to your, am I going to do this again?
Yep,
We try and think about it as like AI first. How can we get this done quicker using the tools available to us rather than me sitting there and using my dumb brain? I'm going
yep,
to try and outsource some of that to there. And also our other ones that say if it's not value, it's noise. Because like if you're putting stuff out there and it's not of value to
yeah,
either us or our clients, it's just
yep.
noise. And there is enough noise out there today
Mm.
with the internet and all the things that we have going on that we need to make sure that we focus on providing value at all time,
Yeah,
basically, not
yeah.
just put.
Absolutely. And it's just for me and for what we're doing within this. This is a new product. Um, we launched it as an MVP a couple of months back. It's getting a lot of traction. A lot of people love it. But where we're going with this is it's going to take productivity to a whole new level. So as you just said there, Gary, one of our biggest things is not just looking at, oh, I'm doing task management. It's about how does it integrate into your business? How does it integrate into your life? And so Productivity Suite, while I've got it here, it's embedded as a custom link with inside of GHL. You don't necessarily need GHL. All right. You can
Yep.
actually have this working outside of it. It's been built as what's called a web application. So most people, if you don't know what that means, it means it's built in it looks like a website, but it's called a web app, which means you can use it in its entirety on your phone. So you don't have to have a separate app to download. Now we will be coming out with an app in time for doing those things instead of forwarding on tasks into your email like some of us do, okay, is a simple application where you'll be able to add a task in and something like that. All right, save us going into the full-blown app. So there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to come up with. It's got a full help menu and everything in it. There's all the different tasks and all that type of stuff. It's got the knowledge bank's already built. It's got all the bots and all that type of stuff and everything in there as well, and booking on. So it's pretty cool. I love it. It's really made a big difference to our business from a perspective of not having to jump around all the different places. That was the
Mm,
biggest thing. And here is one of the other ones that when we launched, okay, I said to the team, how can we actually add some significant value to people? Because this is going to be new. So number one, inside of Productivity Hub in Productivity Suite. Um, you can actually, if you're in Asana at the moment, you download your CSV in Asana, you get uploaded in here and it maps it across. And so therefore you can pretty much move any application. It's a download and upload at the moment. We're going to end up with some buttons where you just go click and it will just transfer it across. That's one of the next generations that we're going to be doing. But one of the things I said to the team was, hang on a second, like we've got 200 odd SOPs and systems and templates and everything already built. What do we do with those? So we've actually now made those available to everybody who gets it. So literally you'll get, from an administrate, if I just look at administration here, I go into, I don't know, risk management, you got all the different categories and these have all got process maps. So these process maps come with it. And then there's a CSV file that goes through the step by step process that you can actually set that out as a project. And so I think there's about 200 odd in here at the moment. It's also got a full set of policies and procedures in here, which goes through everything you can think of, all the forms, templates, etc., etc. So now these are all in a Google folder at the moment because not all of them apply to everybody, but everybody who gets Productivity Suite gets access to those 200 odd SOPs. And being a GHL agency myself, there's obviously a little bit of cross-pollination that can happen there, and people can use it and use some of our experiences over the last 7 years of being in GHL.
very nice, man. All very important stuff as you scale to get all that stuff in place.
Absolutely. It's tried and tested, being done by system engineers, and if they're not just something we've just made up, and it's not chat GPT driven at this particular point in time. It's actually being driven by experience.
Very good, mate. Well, we've had a few people join us as we've been going through here. We've hit our hour mark, mate. But we'll keep talking for a bit, and we've had a few people join us here. So I don't know if anyone's got any questions for you, Kel. If they want to drop them in the chat or put their hand up, or if we have any questions from people here. Everybody's silent or shy. I don't know. Jeff?
Yeah, the cost, the monthly cost, the one-off or monthly cost.
Yeah, mate. So we've got two things, and we'll post it a little bit later on, and I'll give some links to Gary. We've got a lifetime offer going at the moment. It's supposed to have closed off, but I'm going to extend that out for Gary. And there's also a monthly cost, but it's all in, just like GHL. It's an all-in price. All right, normally 199 for all systems, everything, 199 a month, unlimited projects, unlimited users, unlimited everything for the ticketing, the project, and also the SOPs. And because I like Gary so much, I'm giving him 50% off for all his people. I'll give you a 50% coupon.
Aces, mate. All right. People, if you grab that, we're not getting anything. We're not really got any affiliate deals or anything here.
Mm.
That's all from Kel, not from us. Thank you, Kel. That's awesome, mate. If you give us the links, Camilla will pop those with this. So we'll pop those. I don't know if you have the links to hand, mate, for the people that hear on here live. We can
Yep, I'll drop those in very shortly. Yep.
drop them in the chat, mate, for the guys that are here, and then Camilla will take those and make sure that when we repost this in the group later, if you're watching this later, there'll be the links in the chat below, mate. So that's awesome. Thank you, Kel.
Yeah.
If we had any other questions or any other questions for Kel on his journey across productivity and team leadership across the time, well, we've got him here. Like I said, he's a man of wisdom now. I say it's wisdom when we get to our ages
Yes,
now, Kel.
that's right, mate. I'm now called a sage, not saggy.
Yeah, we did a day at my wife's health retreat the other day, and we had Barry Dubois came and
Yeah,
he was a speaker at our health retreat, and he did a great talk. And he was talking about how he sort of views himself now as like one of the elders. Like, when you had the village
yeah,
before, you'd have the village and you got the young guys that go out and do all the hunting. But now you got the elders that maybe, they're a bit older, so they're not doing the hunting, but they've got all the wisdom to pass on. And it was really interesting talking to him. He was like just passing on his wisdom and talking to all these people about his life journey and stuff. There's a lot to be taken from that. So there's definitely a lot of stuff there, Kel, and like, little snippets of things that you've put in there about channeling your time, your energy, making sure they go in the right direction every day, that I think, we all come to realize over time how important that actually is as we grow and scale, right?
yeah.
So thank you very much, mate. I don't know if we have any last questions for anyone. Otherwise, the link is there in the chat for you guys. If you
I'm
want to check
just,
that out, productivityhubsuite.com.
yeah,
And we'll make sure that link is with this video when it goes out, man.
yeah, not all right at all. I'm just looking for the code. I should have had that ready for you.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry, mate. You're going to grab that code there as well.
yeah, I think it's called, yeah, yeah. It's called 50 off.
50
Five
off,
off.
50,
50 off. 50.
50 off. So 50 OFF. So
Yep.
productivityhubsuite.com, 50 OFF.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Kel, thank you so much for taking time out of your, and it's like work, life, holiday type
Oh,
stuff. When are you getting back to Thailand, mate?
mate, I leave. So I'm in Melbourne now. I'm driving up tomorrow to Newcastle, back down to Melbourne again on Sunday, and fly out on Tuesday. I think it's the 18th.
Very nice, mate. Back to, well, it's kind of home for you now, isn't it? You've been there for a while.
Sorry?
It's home for you now, isn't it? You've been there for a while.
Yeah, definitely home for us, mate. It's th 3 years on. My beautiful bride. I don't know if I'd ever get away from Thailand permanently, but she likes to travel. But yeah,
Yeah, well, I know you got well set up there now with your home, your offices, all the
yeah,
stuff you got there, your team in the offices in the Philippines as well that you've just set up that we were talking about briefly before we actually
yeah.
even started this, mate. So awesome stuff, mate. Mate, Kel, thank you so much for your time today, mate. Really appreciate it, and catch you soon.
Take care.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.